my name is Leslie Ylinen, and you're listening to Two Guys Talking Rush.
Guys talking rush two guys talking rush two guys talking rush two guys talking rush two guys.
And now, get ready for the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast with your hosts, John Kane and Dan Buxton.
Okay.
All right. We good?
Yep.
Hey folks, this is John Kane, and this is the delightful Dan Buxton, and welcome to episode 44 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast. This is not Two Guys Talking the Weather Girls. It's Two Guys Talking. Not. It definitely is not. It's the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast, focusing in on the incredibly iconic Rush, your favorite band and ours too. So listen in and discover the best damn Rush podcast in the entire Solar Federation. Two Guys Talking Rush.
Oh yeah.
Ooh yeah. My
yeah.
Remember the Kool-Aid guy? Like, ooh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but it didn't. Wow. You know, I got like 50% of a yeah there.
Why was he so violent? He was always crashing through walls.
He just had this hostility towards brick walls. I think that's what it was. Just that, like everything else in life, he was fine, but he saw a brick wall and he's like, I must destroy that thing.
Nothing spilled out of his giant pitcher head
ever.
He like kept it contained, and he was made of glass and no smashing.
There was no problem.
Kool-Aid. Then I don't think there's no Kool-Aid man crashing through walls anymore. That was entirely a 70s, 80s thing, right?
Long gone, sadly.
Okay. Yeah. Delicious, nutritious Kool-Aid for us poor folk.
Yeah. Drink.
Powdery mix, a powdery, sugary mix. Well, Dan, another episode of Two Guys Talking Rush. What do you think about that?
I think it's fantastic. I hope they go on forever, and I hope that when I die, my son takes my place and continues doing these podcasts with you.
Legacy.
Yes,
wow.
Exactly. Wow. We've been on long enough now, I think, to have to think about our legacy and that sort of thing. So this is almost a legacy podcast.
Who's going to carry on the torch?
The Nug.
Yeah, the Nug. Well, your Nug and my Nug.
Yeah,
that'll be good. Well, what's going on? What's new in your life? We're just to let folks know who are listening. It's summertime now. We're just a few days after Memorial Day here in the United States. For those who are in other countries, and right now I'm in Vermont writing another book and working on another project. Dan, what are you doing? You're going away for the summer for a little bit with the family.
I'm going away for the summer, and I'm employed with a company whose name I cannot say just yet. But it's good. It's a good thing, and I'm pleased for it. Are you at liberty to discuss what you're working on, or you're not there yet?
Not yet, but it is another book with another publisher on another topic that I'm interested in. And that's about as far as I can go. I'll probably at the end of the summer, I'll be able to release those details a little bit more explicitly, but at this time, no. But it's all good. I mean, it's you know how it is writing a book.
Never say anything until something is signed.
Yeah,
that's what I learned. Until it's signed and counter executed and all that sort of thing.
Yes,
it doesn't exist until that moment.
Yes, exactly right. Well, here we are. We are a show hosted by fans for fans, and our listeners know we are inclusive. Each week, we try to mix it up with guests and content, and we want fans to join us on this incredible journey of Two Guys Talking Rush, and it has been a journey. We've met so many cool people doing this podcast, and so many great fans, and it's been a wonderful gift. I want to thank our guests on episodes 42 and 43, Melanie Hitchcock, Meg Smith, Candice Soltitelli, Teresa Murillo, Emily and Charlotte Puckering, aka the Women of Rush.
Oh yeah,
Those were great episodes, man.
those were fantastic. Like there are some that I feel like I could just listen to this for my own enjoyment, and like I forget that I'm even involved in it. That was definitely one of them.
Yeah, yeah, they were wonderful, and I think that the response has been really good, and we'll
Mhm.
continue on with them. Just new, we have fans that come on the show all the time, and we'll always welcome
Oh yeah,
everyone.
absolutely.
Definitely. So here at Two Guys Talking Rush, we are fans of the talented crews who make up the live event touring industry. So please support the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund at sweetrelief.org. It's a big help now that COVID is somewhat lifting. There are still many people out of work. The industry hasn't bounced back 150% yet. So there are tours and arena tours and concerts being scheduled. I know Dan's gearing up for any Vince Neil concert that
I
might pop
cannot
up.
wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan's a huge fan of just Vince's failing voice.
I was going to send you that footage, but I
Uh,
was at the last one. I was like, no, he
oh,
doesn't need to
listen,
see this.
you
This
know
is
something?
too heartbreaking.
I don't understand it. It's like, and of course, this is a show about Rush, but we talk about other music genres and bands. Yeah, I'm a fan of the metal scene, back then, the classic metal scene and current metal scene. And I don't know why. I mean, doesn't he have enough money? I mean, how much money is he just trying to maintain his lifestyle? I mean,
I
why would
don't
you
know.
embarrass yourself so much like that?
I have no idea, and my heart goes out to the other guys in the band too,
They
who
must be cringing.
can play and still can,
Yeah,
and I would like to say that maybe John Corabi is available,
he is. He is.
possibly, and
Yeah,
maybe they want to think about that because he was very unfairly
released.
maligned.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean that whole episode was, I mean, it's hard to replace a singer.
hmm.
I get it. That's not, it's easier to replace like a bass player or something like that.
Yeah,
The singer is the front man. That's a
yeah,
dicey proposition.
right.
He was okay.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything wrong with him, but I understand that people are like, no, it's got to be Vince Neil or nobody.
yeah,
They may not feel that way today, is all I'm trying to say.
yeah. The Motley Crue sort of brand and legacy. It's hard to understand what it is because there's so many. I can't say that I'm a major fan. I mean, going back, they were my first band I ever saw. I much prefer
Mhm.
Rat. I much prefer Rat over Motley Crue. However, I think I liked what Motley Crue sort of embodied of the time. The Sunset Strip and the
Yeah.
early days of metal in California. And there's a few good albums. Or at least two. Um, but I wish Vince would sort of just maybe hang it up or just take a look at himself and say, is this, because he's sort of ruining his own brand. He's got this legacy in the business. And I mean, by contrast, look at Rush,
Right.
how they went out. They went out on top. And Geddy didn't sing at the register he did in the early days. He knew it. He made adjustments.
Yeah.
He stayed fit and he moved forward. I don't know what Vince is holding on to.
I never heard a note that Rush ever performed where I was like, oh God, Jesus, don't do that. I mean, definitely there were a
Yeah.
few things where I was like, okay, well, he's gotten older. He can't hit the notes like he used to, but they compensated, like you said, like they would tune down or they would find a way to work with it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a like charitable and nice way to say that's not the case with these
Yeah.
guys.
Sure.
But I don't. Is Tommy Lee still playing drums for them,
I think
or
so.
is he's out of the band forever? Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's on board. I mean, they said they were going to do this tour or end their career. They signed the contract. Years go by. They come back. The movie comes out. The Dirt, and then of course there's this new revitalization of Motley Crue. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen them. A few friends bought some tickets, and I went to see them on some Circus of Madness tour. I don't know what it was. I mean, the stage show was incredible, but even then, Vince was laboring. He's sitting down a lot. And I've seen the Stones live, like
Right.
their most recent tour. And Mick Jagger's like 19 years old, running back and forth. I mean, that dude's on a treadmill in between tours, you know,
Yeah.
in between shows.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Motley Crue because they've dedicated their lives to a thing, you know, a body of work. And I don't mean to diss Vince Neil, but we are in an age of a lot of critical analysis when it comes to videos, and everybody's shooting a video, everybody's recording. Does he not get that? Nothing is hidden.
I don't know. I think if you put yourself out there like that, like if you're a performer, I mean, you always run the risk of like, okay, what I'm doing is public. People are going to hear this, and I can't control how they respond to it or if they like it. And especially now in the social media age, if I hit a note badly or something like that, that's worldwide. That goes to millions of people in 30 seconds, you know. I remember there was some footage that got out like 2 years ago, maybe, of David Lee Roth, where like he was trying to sing something. It didn't come out that well, but I mean, he got away with it because he can, and he has that kind of a personality, and people are willing to let that slide. I don't know if Vince Neil has earned the same amount of goodwill as David Lee Roth had, but I mean, it's not really a fair comparison anyway.
Two singers who many would argue didn't have great voices to begin with.
Yeah, but they were the right, you know. It's like band, Mick Jagger. I would say also is like no one's going to say, oh my God, he's operatically trained or something like, but he's the right person. Charlie Watts, who just turned 80, happy birthday. Has always been the right drummer. Maybe there are more technically proficient drummers or whatever, but he's the right person.
Neil Peart would never fit into the Rolling Stones, you know.
No, it would be like ridiculous. You belong over there. I don't think you mean to be here, you know. He could do it, but you know, it just wouldn't be the same. And I think, you know, for as disastrous as that video footage was of Vince Neil, I think in a lot of ways without him, it wouldn't be the same, and they know that. And so I think it's like they're, you know, sort of striking a balance between, you know, what can we get away with musically that we can still kind of do, and what are people really coming to see. And I think they're really coming to see him and get shit-faced and you know, scream the tunes. For that, it's probably okay, you know. But yeah, that was some rough footage though.
It was rough, and you know, I think Vince, just by looking at that, he's playing to like small crowds, and there's just
true believers.
And there's
like people who are not going to question anything he does. You know?
And you know, biker events and things like that. But you know, it's almost like he's trying to hold on to the days, you know, because I can't imagine he's getting paid that much. I saw him on Cameo. They made some. He was on Cameo like 5 or 6 times, and they pulled his account, and something's off. Man, I know. He $400 a whack on Cameo. That's what he was getting.
That is like the saddest thing I've heard in quite a while.
I mean, he must have money.
Yeah, he must. You know, I mean, there's no royalties anymore. You don't make money off record sales. It's all touring, and they haven't been able to tour for a year. So you know, they have to do
his lifestyle.
I guess so. Yeah,
his houses and all this stuff. Anyway, well, moving on, and sorry folks, but these are topical.
We must discuss this every time.
Well, they're topical, and you know, by good measure, you look at a band like Rush and a lead singer like Geddy Lee, who's, you know, got 20 years on Vince Neil, and then Mick Jagger, who's got another 10 on Geddy, and then you look at a young guy like Vince, and he just can't keep it together, and it's like, dude, come on, you know.
And then you look at someone like Neil, who
I know
played flawlessly all the time and refused to play another note if it was not going to be excellent.
Quality, standard of quality, and that's it with Rush. Well, here we are. You know, a couple more reminders. You can hear our podcast on TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Simplecast, and others. The show is recorded in video, so please check our YouTube channel and click subscribe. Do it. A quick Rush shout out, Rush Radio shout out. You can find Rush Radio on the TuneIn app and at rushradio.org. A big thank you to Ed Stenger at rushasaband.com. We love rushasaband.com, and we love Ed Stenger, cool guy. And also check out Power Windows website at 2112.net. Lots of good information. A quick shout out to the mighty Why Not, who are going on tour this fall. Their music can be heard in our show's intro. Looking forward to hopefully catching those guys on the road. Rush fans, we want to hear from you. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas, or questions about the show, please submit them. We want to hear from you. Email us at 2TWO guys talking rush at Gmail. That's the word 2, not the number 2. We're always looking for super fans for our Rush super fan spotlight. We do that quite often. Like I said, with this podcast, we want to include fans. It's a fan podcast, and what we mean by that is that we have fans on the show. We just don't call ourselves a fan podcast. We actually have fans join us, right? And we're always looking for super fans, Rush super fans. So what makes you a super fan? Well, that's up for speculation. Do you have a tattoo on your forehead? Does your grandmother love Rush? Does she have a Rush collection? You can't stand Rush? I don't know. Some weird, wacky, cool situation where you have a lot of Rush around you, or you just get a rush from Rush and you just love Rush in some way, right? Every day.
A Rush totem pole.
Yeah, I was going to say something. So, join us and convince us. Let us know, and we'll have you on the show. Our website is twoguystalkingrush.com, TWO. Facebook page, facebook.com/2guystalkingrush. Twitter is twitter.com/2guystalkrush. And again, subscribe to our damn Two Guys Talking Rush YouTube channel.
Subscribe to the damn thing.
Do it, will you? Please, come on. I want to increase those numbers. If you're interested in fueling our passion to bring you the most up-to-date and Rush news and awesome guests and content, check out our Two Guys Talking Rush store, where you can buy condoms and bikini briefs. We have deodorant on there in case you stink. Check it out.
Just a strong possibility.
We have mugs with our mug on them, our face on the mugs. So check that out, twoguystalkingrush.com. And then our Patreon account, which supports the podcast monthly. If you want to help us and fund our expenditures, like our jet planes back and forth to see each other, and our sushi lunches, and what else do we?
The gold-plated microphone sync.
Support us so we can buy good things. No, actually, it takes a certain amount of funding and effort to put this on. We're both working class people, and we take a lot of time and energy and funds to put this show together. So if you can spare a governor, please, governor.
We have children, man.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, patreon.com /2 guys talking rush. All right, fan mail. We actually got some consistently are getting fan mail. It feels really good. It feels legit.
This is one of my favorite. I love this segment. I love when we can do this.
How about this one now? Dear Two Guys Talking Rush, you suck. I'm kidding. No. That's
inevitable. No. I mean, that's one we will get at some point.
This next one, dear Two Guys Talking Rush, you suck a lot.
Also inevitable.
And this one, I hate you. What? Come on, people. Kidding. Here's one. Greetings from Germany. Whoa.
Ooh.
Deutschland.
Jawohl.
Hi, guys. I'm Benny from Germany. Just 31 by now, and just wanted to say thanks for your work. I listened to every 50 episodes from you. So I'm very fortunate for both getting to know a lot about Rush and also improving my English skills. We are
very nice.
We're like a learning podcast.
Yes, we're Rosetta Stone.
We are the Rosetta Stone. Sorry to tell you that I'm only a fan for 3 years or so, because in Germany, really nobody knows Rush. Not even the two drummers in the bands I've been. One thought Lars Ulrich is the best drummer in the world, so let's forget about him.
Wow,
that's not true. I'm a guitar player, by the way. Thank God I somehow saw an article about moving pictures and totally was in the game. As a giant Pink Floyd and Beatles fan, Rush fits so good in my record collection. Again, thank you for the absolute amazing stories in every single episode. I hope that someday Getty or Alex will be on with you, if maybe Donna can arrange it. I would shit my pants like most others. Long may you run.
Donna's sitting at home right now going like, nope, I do not do that.
Long may you run. Best regards, Benny. P.S. He gives us his top 5.
Ah,
Number 5, Exit Stage Left. Number 4, Permanent Waves. Number 3, Farewell to Kings. Number 2, 2112. Number 1, Hemispheres.
solid. It's a good list
That's good.
for a young gentleman.
I know, 31.
Yeah.
From Germany. We should have him on the show. Benny!
That's yeah, I'm that makes me happy to hear that as far away as Germany we're being heard. That's great.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All right, here's one from Chris C. Guys, wanting more Rush, I stumbled upon your show. I can never get enough of the planet's greatest band ever, and any show that has something interesting to add about my favorite band. I'm a lifelong fan of the band and was first introduced to them in the mid to late 70s around Kings. However, they became my obsession after seeing them live for the first time at the Spectrum in Philly in April of '86 for the Power Windows tour. I have seen them every tour ever since, usually 2 to 5 times. As you can see from my plates below, in the email, he shows his license plates, and they all have various
Oh, cool.
configurations of letters. As you can see from my license plates below, I'm a huge, insane fan of the band. Oh, the registry, the motor vehicles must think so too. I consider myself a Rush snob. In my opinion, all Rush is great Rush. Not because it's Rush, because it's great. I don't have any songs or albums considered their worst. I call them my least favorite. I have no time for those people who don't like anything after MP, Moving Pictures, Signals, or Grace Under Pressure. I consider them bandwagon, lazy, or just plain stupid. Oh,
Whoa, damn,
it's a fight
brutal.
there.
Yeah,
You're
seriously.
You're just stupid if you don't like anything past those albums.
Clearly, you must have a head injury.
Yeah, you're just a giant dum-dum.
Only possible explanation.
Keep up the legacy. As long as shows like yours continue, the band will always be in the forefront of intelligent music fans and minds. Intelligent, he says. Ooh.
Nice.
Take care, Chris C. Hey, Chris C, you take care too, man.
Yeah.
Thank
Nice.
you. We got some YouTube comments. I wanted to include those. And this was based on our segment with Martin Popoff.
Oh, cool.
A segment on popular Rush songs and/or songs. This is from Robert. A segment on popular Rush songs and/or songs released as a radio single that never had a video made for it. The first 2 songs on Permanent Waves could have had videos made for them. New World Man, Force 10, Dreamline, Test for Echo, Ghost of a Chance, or just a few others that I could come up with that would be good videos. That's true.
Yeah.
Superfan Jeff, remember Superfan Jeff? He took us into his
Oh, yes.
cave.
Yeah.
He wrote that very long email that was very kind.
Oh, yes.
Superfan, well, here we have a response. Superfan Jeff is the reason why I would be hesitant to go to a Rush convention. People who can't see any faults in what Rush has done scare me. Roll the Bones, the song, is a low point for me, for the band. A waste of time on the R40 tour too. I can't wait until you guys have Why Not back on again. I'll be seeing them on September 11th at the Detroit Diesel. I can't wait
Nice.
to hear their new album, which I hope is out by then. I have to disagree with Dan about Roll the Bones, the album that he was talking about at the end of this video. Dreamline was a big rock radio hit, which would have been noticed by listeners. The Big Wheel and Ghost of a Chance would have been lesser, but memorable songs too. The rest of the album, I pretty much agree. Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we like opinions on the show.
Yeah, if I may, I
Yeah,
think
go for it.
he should go to a Rush convention and meet these people, regardless of
course.
what he thinks now, because I think he will find, as you and I have, that these are like the nicest people you're ever going to meet, and they're the most cool, welcoming people you're ever going to meet. And
Absolutely.
if the worst thing that happens is they go, I like Roll the Bones, that's
Okay.
it. That's you know. I mean, there's no problem with that.
Yeah, yeah. And this is what I mean. This is the essence of the show. I mean, there's a vast catalog. We can compare and contrast. We can critically
Yeah,
analyze and have fun with it, right? Nobody's
yeah.
stupid for not liking certain things. It's come on now, folks. Come on, be nice.
Maybe it could. Well, I mean, I think anyone who doesn't like Korean beef is stupid.
Oh, I have to have more of that. Should I try it?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Mhm.
Barbecue, Korean barbecue.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah,
let's
absolutely.
try it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we are, Rush tour news history. So, 1973, Rush perform at Abbey Road Pub in Toronto. Wow. 75,
Wow.
Rush at the Starwood in West Hollywood. 75, Rush play the Winterland in San Francisco, California on the Fly By Night tour. 77, they play the Free Trade Hall in Manchester, England on the All the World's a Stage tour. 1980, they play the Southampton Gaumont in Southampton, England on the Permanent Waves tour. In 84, they play the Irvine Meadows Amphitheater in Irvine, California on the Grace Under Pressure tour. At that same year, Distant Early Warning hit number 3 on rock radio. In 1990, Rush play the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York on the Presto tour. In 1999, the novel Prayers for Rain by Dennis Lehane was released, comparing Rush to Andy Warhol in a way which is, shall we say, less than favorable. In 2004, Rush played the Germain Amphitheater in Columbus, Ohio on the 30th anniversary tour. 2013, Rush played the Ziggo Dome in Amsterdam, Holland on the Clockwork Angels tour. Going back to Benny's email, we should have him on because he probably never even got to see Rush. This is probably the closest
Right. Yeah.
he ever, so.
Well, if he said he only discovered them 3 years ago,
Yeah.
then yeah, then
I wonder
then
how
there's
many-
no way he would have seen them. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, how many times did Rush play Germany? I'm wondering.
They got there pretty fairly often. I mean, I
Yeah.
think no, I was going to say R30, but that wasn't recorded there. That was recorded in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I know I have bootleg recordings that
Yeah,
they
one
did
or
in
two.
Germany.
Yeah, not a lot
Yeah.
though. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Okay, so Rush news for June 2021. Aussie alt rockers UMI released their 11th studio album this month. The album is titled The Lives of Others, and it includes a track called Lookalikes, which features a reference to Geddy Lee in the lyrics.
Huh.
Lyrics are Geddy Lee on a crutch in a hell of a rush. I'm going nowhere, and he's got somewhere to be. Interesting.
Huh. Okay.
You can listen to that track in the album via Rolling Stone Australia. In a bit of sad news, drummer Kevin Clark, who played drummer Freddie Spazzy McGee Jones in one of my favorite films, the 2003 film School of Rock, starring Jack Black, was tragically killed in a bicycle accident earlier this week at the age of 32.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what I have. Here.
Oh,
The School
bummer.
of Rock role was Clark's one and only acting credit, and Clark once said that he only got the role because he could actually play the drums. Rush fans will remember Kevin from the scene where Jack Black's character is giving out music CDs to the students for inspiration, and hands Clark's character a copy of Rush's 2112, saying, "Okay, for you, Rush 2112, Neil Peart, one of the great drummers of all time. Study up." Jack
Mhm.
Black sent out his condolences.
Oh, it's a damn shame.
I know.
I love that movie.
Turkey Sub.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's a great movie. The
Yeah.
guy that movie was inspired by a documentary in the early 90s called The School of Rock, I believe. And there's a franchise called the School of Rock. They're everywhere, all over
Yes.
the country.
Mhm.
The guy,
I gave a talk at one once.
Oh, you did? Where?
In Montclair, New Jersey in 2018. They had me come in and talk about Led Zeppelin to
Cool.
a room full of 12-year-olds.
Awesome.
And it was the greatest day of my life.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe the original School of Rock started in Philadelphia. The guy who started it is Paul Green, and I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I tried to get him on the show,
Mhm.
but he said he wasn't a big fan of Rush. He loved prog
Oh.
music, but he preferred, Yes and ELP and all
Like
that.
ELP, okay.
I know, and I tried to get him on, and he said, "No, I don't know if I'd be, but I said, well, let's talk about School of Rock, all this stuff." I'm gonna
Yeah.
still try. I'm gonna still try to get him on. I could.
There have been a couple of people I've tried to get on who have felt like they're not like
Worthy.
enough, like fan enough.
Yeah.
Like one guy who I'm still hoping to get him, so I'm not going to give his name. But one guy, he had this whole collection of like his ticket stubs from when he went to see the Moving Pictures tour and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I asked him, like, do you want to be on the show? And he's like, oh man, I never saw them again after that, and I don't know, man, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
Come on the show, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
We love everybody here.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, if you got other musical interests, like we've been trying desperately to get Vince Neil on the show, and it's just not.
For example, yeah, well, he'll be on now after the show.
His voice is shot. He can only last 10 minutes. And I wonder if he loves.
Shit.
I wonder if he likes Rush.
That would be really funny if it turned out that like he listens to like Magma or something. That would be hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see that happening though, I gotta say.
Yeah, I shouldn't diss on Vince, man. He is in his own right. He is a legend, man.
Mhm.
And he's probably.
It's also too late because we did already. So
Vince, if he's even listening to this, you were my first concert, man. You were my first.
We didn't mean any of it.
I loved Motley Crue so much, man. And then unfortunately, Theater of Pain came out, and I went in another direction.
Is that what did it?
Yeah, because I remember seeing. Rush fans were on a Motley Crue track again. But we do that. We talk about different bands. But I remember. I mean, I love Too Fast for Love, and I actually like the production and rawness of that still. And then Shout at the Devil came out, and I was really enamored by that album, and just the production of I still have my original Shout at the Devil gatefold, and I remember I categorized all of my records, alphabetized them all, and I still have my my puncher that I would use to do that. It's on the album, along with my 1984 album and all these albums, Dokken and all this.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I just loved it. I have a Motley Crue shirt. I snuck out of my house to see them with my best friend Jay. I snuck out, and back then you could buy these weird merchandise items like painters caps. They used to sell painters caps.
Yeah,
so stupid.
Why?
I remember I had one that had like a pentagram on the crown and all that, and I went to see Motley Crue and Rat at the Orpheum Theater in like 84, 85. Then, of course, tragedy struck the Motley Crue camp, and then Theater of Pain came out. I just remember everybody in our metalhead group were waiting for it to come out. It was pink. The look was different. They had very super glam scarves, and in retrospect, if the music was still heavy and thematically heavy, it would have been okay, but it was soft and just not. It was, aside from Home Sweet Home, which grew on me, I just didn't love that album. And then I saw them live with like Y&T and the Scorpions on them. Might have been on the Monsters, one of those Monsters of Rock.
Yeah.
And it was just different, So that's my Motley Crue story. I probably bored the hell out of a bunch of people, but
fuck them.
You know what? Yeah, right. And you know what? Motley Crue owes me a little bit. I mean, I really was a dedicated fan. I just felt I felt abandoned.
Your sense of betrayal comes through loud and clear.
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
And then I saw them on the Girls tour with Whitesnake. And I didn't like that album at all. And Whitesnake blew them out of the water. I mean, that album was just mammoth, that
right. Yeah.
Album,
There was no escaping that album. There was nothing you could do to get away from it.
Absolutely not, man. And by contrast, having Whitesnake open up for them was probably the worst decision they could have ever made, I think, just
I think it ended up with like someone ended up being in Whitesnake because of it. later, so it was a
Oh.
good thing for Whitesnake.
Interesting.
But no, it's by comparison, no, you don't want to be in that position.
No, they were just screaming. And onto a Whitesnake track, because I know you're a fan of Whitesnake. Is that
Love.
second album with Steve Vai? I forgot about that album. That's a great album. There's good tracks on that, man. You know.
Yeah.
I forget the name.
Slide it. No, that's not slide it.
No.
Oh, slip of the tongue.
Slip of
Excuse
the
me.
tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good album.
Another of their somewhat bawdy album titles.
I know. So, you know, that's how they roll, man. That's how Coverdale rolls.
Oh yeah.
He's a ladies'
Mhm.
man. Well, you know, we go off on these tracks, but Dan and I are also huge fans of metal and deal with it, I guess. Here's the latest edition of Classic Rock Magazine, issue 289, is a special issue celebrating the 50th anniversary of the classic 1971 Led Zeppelin album, Led Zeppelin 4. The issue includes an interview with Geddy Lee, where he talks about the influence Zeppelin had on Rush, and one incident in particular where Robert Plant helped pull Rush from the abyss following Neil Peart's personal tragedies in the late 1990s. And we talked about that last show, but in this article, Geddy also talks about the first time he saw Zeppelin live and shared his thought on each of Zeppelin's 8 tracks, and describes the influence Zeppelin had on Rush, which is cool, you know, because Zeppelin is just so powerful. He says they were a huge influence on us. We wanted to be them instantly, but their stuff was so hard to play. We tried a number of Zeppelin songs when we played in the bars, but we felt we couldn't pull them off. We did have Livin' Lovin' Maid in our set for a while, though. Cool. Nice. I'd love to get a recording of that.
Yeah, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, if any fan has a recording of that, let's have them on the show. Well, here's a new segment. It's called Rush News Flashback, and it's where we sort of go back in time, and you know, 10 years or so, and just see what Rush were doing within the same month that we're broadcasting this podcast. And in June 2011, Rush were on the massively successful Time Machine tour. And Rush rode through the Time Machine up through Southern California coast this past week, as it reports in June of 2011, playing a show in San Diego on Sunday, and back-to-back shows at the Gibson Amphitheater in Los Angeles on Monday and Wednesday, respectively. Tonight they'll head to Sin City to play the MGM Grand Arena, and then make their way to the Pacific Northwest by way of Northern California, playing shows in Concord, Portland, Vancouver, and finally closing out the tour in Seattle. Several celebrities were spotted at the LA shows, including Jack Black, Danny Carey of Tool, Tommy Thayer of Kiss, Tom Morello, who's obviously in Audioslave and Rage Against the Machine, John Wesley, Porcupine Tree, Matt Scannell, Vertical Horizon, Eric Kretz, the Stone Temple Pilots, actor Adam Baldwin, publisher Andrew Breitbart, and music industry insider Bob Lefsetz. Lefsetz wrote a glowing report of the show in his following edition of his popular Lefsetz newsletter. Are you a fan of Bob Lefsetz?
I have not read his stuff, but I've heard of him, and I know who he is, and that's surprising to me.
Yeah, he's very critical, but I think he's critical because he's smart about music.
Yeah.
Here's what he says, and I was pretty amazed to discover this, because I didn't know Lefsetz would even consider Rush something within his, you know, his repertoire of music. So here he writes, now was I sitting at home thinking I needed to go to a Rush show? No, emphatically, capital letters, no, exclamation point. But when I heard Alex Lifeson wanted me to come, I was there. You could call me a groupie, but I love the musicians. They're so different from the business people. They focus on creativity. They're not about flash or cash. They're positively human. I interact at every opportunity. They're soulmates. And I was surprised at the assembled multitude backstage. There's a plethora of closet Rush fans. Actually, they're not so closeted. That's what I told Alex in a hallway outside his dressing room. He said he figured that Rush's music wasn't really my cup of tea. And I told him I get more email about Rush than any other band, wondering why they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, telling me to watch the documentary. Rush fans are so passionate.
Right.
And it struck me how normal Alex was. He told me he married his high school sweetheart. They met when he was 15. They're still together. His grandkids were there. So different from the image. Then again, he's a Canadian. And it doesn't matter that the mainstream press ignores them, that people poke fun. To those who go, it's vitally important. not a phase, something that hooks you and grows and you grow out of. No, if you're a Rush fan, you're a fan for life. And the band knows this and does its best to satiate you. No one left early Monday night. No one wanted his money back. They just couldn't wait until Alex, Neil, and Getty came through town again.
Yep.
He also reports who was in attendance to the show, and he says, and I'm just a massive fan of Jack Black, dude. He's like one of those, and I'm not a fanboy of movie stars.
No, but I feel like he's one of us
He really
in a lot
is,
of ways.
dude.
I know that's a little cheesy, but yeah, totally.
He's one of us with a bigger bank account, but he doesn't seem to have an ego, and I love Tenacious D, and I just want Jack. Listen, if Jack Black is listening to this, or anybody know, I want him on the show. Like, he would be my first
desperately
guest. Yeah, Jack Black, if you're out there, Two Guys Talking Rush, we want to spend an evening with you talking about Rush, man. Rocket sauce.
We will stroke
Awesome
your
sauce.
ego all you want. Just come on the show.
Yeah. He has a viral, like a TikTok thing, and it just makes me laugh all the time. He had pandemic hair, and he shaved his head. He had his kid shave his head.
Good.
And he just had his belly sticking out, and he's in this mansion. He's the man, Jack Black was in my row 3 seats away, taking pictures on his cell phone, grooving, drumming along on his belly. And when the lights came up for intermission, he was seen. Word spread. The vultures descended. It was almost scary. You think you'd want to be that famous, but you don't. And Jack's taking pictures with each and every one of them. Backstage, in the inner sanctum, he was even accosted there. He was telling this parent to shoot from above for the proper effect. I had to go up to him, had to ask, how do you do it? Jack said, I signed up for this. I'm here for your entertainment.
Good man.
What a dude.
That's a great, very healthy attitude.
I know. I love Jack Black, man. He's so awesome. Well, here we are on to our guests. And obviously each week we bring you guests. That's what we do. In April, San Francisco-based writer Leslie Ylinen, spelled Ylinen, at McSweeney's Daily Humor website, wrote an article titled An FAQ About Your New Birth Control, The Music of Rush, a satirical take on using Rush as birth control. Now, Rush fans, the thing with this show is we want all perspectives. We don't want to be in a room with everybody that agrees with each other.
Right.
That's absolutely boring. We want these sort of exchanges. We want opposing views because it fosters good exchanges and discussions, right?
A diversity of opinion.
Yeah, man, come on.
Right.
Yeah. So here's an excerpt from that article that came out in April. No one has ever gotten pregnant while listening to the music of Rush. Clinical studies show that when combined with watching a male sexual partner play air bass along to the extended solo in Free Will, the contraceptive efficacy of Rush approaches 100%. Some women report feeling incredibly uncool. You may develop medium to severe irritation when your male sexual partner gives an impassioned 10-minute speech on how Neil Peart was the greatest percussionist in human history. Fans in Rush may tell you that women just can't handle complicated time signatures and cerebral lyrics. This is a serious and irreversible side effect called sexism. Women who experience this adverse reaction should call their doctor, all of their friends, and then post their entire exchange on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen,
it is our great pleasure.
It's our great pleasure to have Leslie Ylinen on Two Guys Talking Rush.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry for all the multiple links that I sent you. That's my fuck up. I apologize.
It's okay. We got there.
Okay.
We're professionals here.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting a very professional experience.
You're getting experience, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. So here you are. You wrote an article about Rush, and now you're on a Rush podcast. Just what you wanted.
I'm not trying to say like that, but I'm honored. This is indeed my first Rush fan podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely not an expected event for 2021, but I'm delighted to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. How do you properly pronounce your last name?
Ylinen.
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 Yeah.
Aha, I'm glad I asked.
It's
avoid-
gone through it.
What kind
Ylinen.
of name is that?
It's Finnish.
Ah, okay,
Nice.
got it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's my husband, so I haven't had it that long, so I'm getting used to it along with everyone else.
Ah, okay.
See how easy it was to avoid extreme embarrassment?
You just ask.
Yeah,
That's all you do. Yeah.
I'm used to that now.
Okay. So look, thank you very much for coming on and sort of like, coming into the lion's den, as it were. But we felt like this is worthy of a spot on the show because it sounds like from what I can tell, your article actually like really made a lot of noise and really got out there.
Yes.
And not all of it was good, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was mostly good. I was at first, I think all the bad really came kind of hard and fast right at the beginning, but then it kind of trickled into kind of an outpouring of positive feedback. So overall, everyone's like, even the hardcore Rush fans have mostly had this terrific sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say that, on this podcast, we like to cover all types of scenarios as it relates to Rush. People who are not all people who love Rush. So we've been, and I wrote this down just because I wanted to remind Dan and I that we've been looking for people who dislike Rush for a long time, and then of course your article comes out, and Rush is one of those bands where if you're a longtime fan, you would understand, at least a fan over 20 years like myself, is that they weren't always a popular band. I mean, we got shamed for liking Rush. We were sort of like the nerds, the outcasts. It wasn't a popular thing. It's popular to say, "Hey, I love Led Zeppelin," or "I love
Taylor Swift."
Yeah, Taylor Swift. Yeah. But when you say Rush, forget about it. You're the guy in the party that no one really wants to talk to and all that. So it was only till later Rush became sort of a mainstream thing. And I often wonder if you would have been inspired to write that article if not Rush had become a mainstream popular act, meaning the Rush of 20 years ago, would it have been worthy to write an article about the 20 years ago Rush, or now because they're just showing up everywhere, right? Everybody loves Rush. Everybody's on the Rush bandwagon. So I'm so glad that you're here. Because we want you to defend yourself. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. But I want to ask you, who is your favorite band? Who's your favorite band?
I thought you were going to ask me that, maybe not so quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't have a good answer for that because I don't, and I think what kind of got me into this position is I don't feel super strongly about music this way. Oh. And I don't have a band that I would consider myself like part of a fandom.
Your favorite. Yeah.
So that's where this kind of disconnect happens, where I would think, I can write this and no one's going to respond because no one, and of course I knew this on some level, but I just have my own personal experience of, being fairly agnostic and just kind of like listen to music when I exercise or in the car, where I just don't have that connection that would make me lash out at someone were they to write something on the internet about it. So
would you feel the same way about Beatlemania? People who really love the Beatles. I mean, I kind of find people who love the Beatles too much annoying slightly. I mean, I prefer the Rolling Stones. And Dan, are you getting pissed off as I say this?
No, not at all.
But the question is since you say you have this sort of disconnect with music and you're not sort of a fan in that way, could you also be inspired to write an article about the Beatles in the same vein?
I could, if it was assigned to me. I can write about pretty much anything, but I don't think the thing about that is the Beatles are so big.
Yep.
And it's not really publishable. No one's going to pick that up. And that's kind of what I think about when I write something is you have to find the right level of obscure, but also enough people are going to read it and be like, oh, I get that joke. And so Rush kind of became that perfect intersection where it's not something that's been written about 20 million times on like the Beatles. It's something that, has a big fandom. They did have a good deal of success. And there is this kind of running joke that women don't like it. And the Rush people, and even people who have passing knowledge of Rush, know that kind of meme or that joke about Rush. So it's this perfect nugget. And then I searched and there's been no comedy written about it. So it was just ripe for the taking. And that's how I kind of got there.
Were you assigned this? Was this an assignment for you?
No, it was my idea.
Yeah.
But so McSweeney's doesn't assign; they are submission based. But it's extremely competitive, so you have to kind of find a topic that he thinks is going to be good for analytics. And so, for for the time I've spent writing for them and competing with other writers for those spots, you learn to kind of find these little cultural jokes, and then you search the archive to see if it's been done before, and then if it's not, then it's yours, and you just have to execute it really well. And so it's
hard to find those little openings. It's like where are the gaps? Where it's like, oh, this is a great idea that someone should have written about this already, and no one did. That's very lucky when you. So
you were fueled by the obscurity and not fueled by your hatred for Rush.
Correct. Yeah, you're kind of going to be disappointed by how little of a hater I am. I think you're probably expecting someone that feels just really passionately against it.
No, the fact that you came on the show means you're not a hater. You would have. You would not even be happening if
you would have been a hider. Yeah. That's funny.
I like some of the songs. It's grown on me a little bit. I had to listen to a bunch of it in the research for the piece.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not my favorite.
Leslie, where are you from? Give us a brief sort of summary of who you are and where you come from. And I know you're a writer, so maybe bring us up to that point.
I am originally from Nashville, Tennessee, born and raised, and then I'm now in San Francisco. My day job is a copywriter. I work for an ad agency, or I guess you would call it a brand strategy agency is the term they're using now. So I write websites, advertisements, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have tech industry experience being in San Francisco, kind of Silicon Valley area. And then I do this humor satire writing just as a hobby on the side.
Are you a funny person like at a party or with your friends?
No, I don't think I'm funny at all. I don't. I think I'm observant, and I think I have this one skill to kind of do cultural observation and write about it in a way that's engaging, but I don't necessarily think I'm funny. Like a lot of the people who write in the same sphere, for McSweeney's or Shouts and Murmurs on the New Yorker, they also write for like SNL or late night, or they have ambitions to do so. I don't think I'm funny in that way. I don't want to do stand up, or I don't think I have that type of charisma. I just feel like I've kind of, as a copywriter, you tend to learn how to master different voices, and this is like the one I can do.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that would make a great SNL skit, actually.
You've definitely read the back of some packaging before. I could tell from reading your article. It's like, yeah, this sounds about right. Yeah.
I looked at some birth control websites. Like I looked at a website for an IUD, and I kind of looked at what their FAQ sections look like, and it is, and I kind of modeled that tone. Interesting voiceover actor who does pharmaceutical ads recorded this and sent it to me.
Oh,
so
really?
I have a professional track of the entire piece read by a voiceover actor.
That's funny.
Now, you told me that you are married to a Rush fan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Maybe not a fan, but an enthusiast, let's say.
Yeah. So I never heard of Rush.
Poor guy. Get him on the show.
Yeah, we got to get him on the show now. Yeah.
He coached me before this because I think there was the misunderstanding that he's some sort of super fan, and he's a regular fan. Like he likes Rush. He had some of their material, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's a diehard. Right. I had never heard of Rush before we started dating, and I think I'm a little too young for their heyday, and I also grew up going to all girls school, and I think those two things took away my exposure for Rush. And so when we started dating, he was playing it, and I just remember being like, what is this? This is quite a voice.
Yes.
And being polite about it, and then kind of learning what it is. And then the first joke, which I think I said years and years ago when it was playing in the home, I was like, this just makes me just snap my legs shut forever. And that is one of the jokes that ended up in the piece.
Right.
And it was something that I had just kind of said. So he does play it. He has favorite songs that I recognize. He really there's a song that I didn't reference in the piece, but he really likes, and I've forgotten it.
Do you have
tend
children?
to.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh,
No, I was going to ask, do you have any children?
We do have one, yes.
Oh, okay.
okay, so
We have a 3.5-year-old girl, yeah.
Oh, very
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, we have to remember, like, the piece is satire. It's not autobiography, So
Right.
we're not. It's not like, well, it turns out actually. No, but I mean, honestly, like, we really do appreciate you, like, coming on and taking the time on what I believe you said is your lunch hour to be here with us. So, you are welcome here.
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah, cool.
So, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
No, just if you're from Nashville, I would think you like what you would really hate would be like modern country.
Yeah, that's tough. I'd rather be listening to Rush, honestly.
Yeah,
me
everyone has their line that they won't cross. I love like old country music, but anything made after like 1980, I can't get behind it. But I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame when I was in Nashville one time, so I paid my respects and that sort of thing. But most of the music coming out of there, like for the last few decades, is just like shockingly awful. So yeah, definitely, I could see you being, it's kind of like I was asking a friend of mine, would you rather see Ted Nugent or the Captain in Tennille? And she was like, I don't think I can answer that question.
That's a really hard thought experiment.
Yeah, give it some thought. And I would see Captain in Tennille. I like Ted Nugent, but I would see Captain in Tennille, mostly because the captain is dead. And so that meant he came back
that would be
to do the concert. That would be something. Yeah, exactly.
Leslie, let me ask you something. So you've done your research, and we've done some myth busting on the show, in particular, the Getty corn myth and lore. What is a Getty corn? You might not have heard of that. If anybody has ever seen a woman at a Rush show, which wasn't all too often, it was like seeing a unicorn. So someone brought that up, and then we've had 2 episodes so far called The Women of Rush, where we get female Rush fans on the show, and they talk about their love of the band. Who would you categorize as a Rush fan based on your research? Who makes it? What does this person look like? What do they do? What do you think a Rush fan is?
I think of a Rush fan probably as someone like a man in their 50s or 60s.
Yes.
Who is maybe like technically inclined, like engineering, computers, mathematically inclined, I would say. And that's really like all I have.
Is there any other band that you could say where you could actually isolate,
like pinpoint, right.
like they get the like if we were searching for a criminal and say he's a Rush fan, you'd know exactly what they look like or what they're into. Is there any other band like that?
We got his prints.
Exactly.
Top of my head, and I can only answer that question because of the research I've done.
Yeah.
And I feel there was some headline where Rush was called Kings of the AV Club. And I don't remember which publication wrote that, but it really stuck with me as just like extremely descriptive in just a few words.
Listen, can you ever think of a time where you want to kick back and just listen to songs about science and and reading? Come on, at a party, I mean, anyway. There's a couple more songs I had here. Questions.
Yeah.
So is there any other, I asked you if there's any other band that you despise more than Rush, and you said you really don't despise Rush. So that's right. Something we broke on this show. I'm curious about the feedback. We talked a little bit about the feedback or the backlash from this article, its impact. You left a little bit of a crater. What's it been like? What's it? Well, I reread your article and I'm like, oh, but tell me, what are fans saying to you, and were you prepared for it? Were you expecting it? Did your husband say, oh, when you hit that submit button, was it like, oh shit, what was it like?
No, so I was like, I lightly, my writing group who gives me feedback, or maybe it wasn't my writing group, but someone had said, this is probably going to make some noise. And I was like, no, like no one cares. No one's going to, no one's going to care. Yeah. And then when I submitted it and the editor wrote me back and he was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, what? Yeah, you're crazy. And then And then when we went through the editing process where you go do some back and forth with the editor, and like each time he was like, we got to cut, because I had called that thing of the Passage of Bangkok, I just used the word racist, and he was like, you got to cut that because this is going to like put the gas in the fire because it's already going to be bad. And so it's like, okay, deal, we'll take that word out. But like at the same time, I'm like, what is everyone fussing about? Like, this is not going to be a thing. And then it was posted, and I was watching it on Facebook where you can see how many people are like sharing and responding to it. Yeah. And just within minutes, it was just snowballing like crazy.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit, this is like actually happening. And I will say the people who have been the worst are the female Rush fans. They are the ones who like came for me the hardest.
Really?
There was a woman.
Well, that was my next question to you. Is there are women who, in fact, love Rush, and they tend to defend themselves greatly about the band. Yeah, go ahead, talk about that.
There was one woman in Canada who was, the day it was published, was reaching out to me like over DMs and on Twitter like 5 times an hour, and it was just like, cunt, you bitch, like.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, and then she deleted all of it, but it was just like nonstop for a while. And then there was another woman who I kind of like looked into who was also just absolutely like losing her mind, and she looks like she's a pretty prominent member of the Rush fan community, and I wouldn't be surprised if your paths crossed. She was also quite upset. And then I was getting some emails. I wish I'd sent it to you, a screenshot of what my inbox looked like for a second, and it was just like, wow, like 15 things in a row. And most of them were positive, where people were saying, I'm a Rush fan, this was super funny. But I think my favorite email I got was, the subject was why. And he was like, oh my God, I just want to understand why. Why did you do it?
Why?
I called them the boys. Like, the boys have put up with so much, and they've had to deal with this shit for so long. And he's like, I just don't understand why you would do such a thing. And like, please explain it to me. And it was like really sad. And I didn't respond to it, of course, because that's crazy. But
well,
that was the craziest email I got.
You can't respond to everything. I mean, it sounds like you got the ridiculous volume of stuff that's not possible to respond to in one person's lifetime. So
right. There was one person who found a photo of me and posted a picture of my face on Twitter and was like, well, with a face like that, she doesn't need to worry about birth control. And that was the one where I was like, okay, you guys, this is just a band. But that has a fun redemption arc, because one of my first trolls of the day was someone who goes by Skippy. And he was like, oh, how original, women hate Rush. Like, haven't been hearing that for the past 30 years. He was, this is stale. And so he was one of the first people to speak out. But then when that happened, the photo of me, he, like, a white knight comes in, and he was like, made a full turn, and he defended me. And he was like, this is garbage. You've got to delete this. It's like, oh, Skippy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what I was a little concerned about was, like, if anyone like really took it too far. Like, did anyone really cross a line with you?
You have picketers out in front of you with pencil pot.
I mean, like, if anyone was going to like dox you or something like that was more the sort of thing that I was concerned about. Like, wow, just is this going to be? But Rush fans, in their defense, are not just like complete hateful dicks like that.
But it's the bigger idea, because you're a journalist, you're a writer. If you don't take chances in your art, or it causes some sort of conflict, you're just in a safe space.
Yeah.
What's the point? So you could write about Rush. You could write that article, why the Beatles are mediocre, right?
Yeah.
How do you think that would go, Dan? Why the Beatles are mediocre?
I've seen so many things out there about, like, what's the best sourdough starter, or so, where it's just like, why would you even bother writing about this? And it's I'm a journalist also. Yeah. And there are some things I've put out there that, like, it's like the desert, like nobody responds to it. And then there are other things that I've written where I was, I didn't really think much of it. I put it out there, and it just turned into this thing that happens. And you can't know how people are going to respond to it. You can't control how people respond to it. And all you can hope for is that if it's a negative response, that they don't cross a line with you. Personally, for me, I feel like taking your picture and doing something with it, to me, that crosses a line. Getting personal with you, to me, that crosses a line.
Absolutely.
I mean, Rush fans have been hearing how people don't like it for a very long time. And for me, it makes us kind of like, no, we love our baby, don't listen to the mean person saying those bad things. It makes us protective of this thing that we like. However, no one should be taking your picture and doing stuff. It's like, that's not cool. That's not okay. We would much rather enter into a dialogue with you and discuss and all that sort of thing and come to a place of learning with one another, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and you're right, Dan. Rush fans are protective; they have the reasons why.
Yeah.
But then again, that this is the phenomenon of the band Rush, and why? The question is now, why are fans so protective? Are there any other bands out there where fans are people as protective of Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath or the Smiths or The Cure? I don't know. I'm not.
Maybe Morrissey. They might be a little protective of Morrissey. But...
Yeah, maybe.
They're off the line for Morrissey.
I know a couple of people who are like, they don't care what like appalling, repugnant stuff he says or whatever. They're like, but I love him, and I can never give up on him. I can never do. It's just like, okay, different strokes. There are people I know who are like absolutely passionate about like this artist, and I don't get it at all. I cannot fathom why they would like this. But like I like Tom Waits. John does not like Tom Waits. And if you don't like Tom Waits, I can totally see someone sitting there going like, the guy can't sing. Why are you listening to this? This is garbage. It's completely subjective. That's the thing. And there are things that I might respond to, that really do it for me and take me to this other place that other people are just like, that's art.
Yeah, I think I'd rather listen to like whale sounds all night, just the songs of the song. Yeah, the songs of whales.
Whale song is good if you're having problems sleeping. There are some apps that play whale song, and it's like you're out. It's perfect.
Dan, I suspect that we're probably, we like to think that we take chances on the show. Ooh, big chances. But by having you on, I'm sure that we'll get some feedback from fans like, wow, how dare you, this and that, because Dan and I have conflicts about the band Rush and with certain material, and we'll sort of have that sort of discourse, and we'll get emails from fans, how dare you only say good things, but that's boring. Why talk to people where we all agree? We're going to have good exchanges and have that sort of discourse where we can think critically and sort of disagree to agree and all that. So we really appreciate you coming on the show, Leslie. Yeah, it's been a great honor.
Has the negativity died down a little bit? Is it starting to set? Okay, good.
So if you go to McSweeney's, so the article was published a month ago and it's still trending, which means it's still getting a fair amount of traffic, but no one has contacted me anymore, which is fine.
Good.
I've like gotten enough attention for a little while.
Have you done any other interviews, or is this your only interview you've done for?
Rush.
About
Rush.
Rush.
Another like writing outlet interviewed me just about like the writing process in general, and we talked a lot about the backlash, and I told a lot of the same stories. But this is my first Rush podcast.
Well, yeah, and to focus in on that, because both Dan and I are writers. It's great writing. It's good writing, and that's what's important. It's your career. Yeah. So aside from the whether we agree with the content or the message, it's good writing, and I challenge any Rush fan out there to write something as well crafted. So I think both Dan and I could recognize good writing, and I suspect that's why we said, hey, let's get Leslie on the show. So both Dan and I are published. So this has been great. Dan, any other questions, my friend?
No, just we hope you have a happy Friday, and we appreciate you coming on, especially since at first you thought it was a trap. And we hope this was a pleasant experience for you, and congratulations on your article. When you hit the target, it's a good feeling. I know.
Did you think this was a trap, Leslie, in the beginning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to my boss about it, who is kind of grew up as a Rush fan, and and I was just telling him about how anxious I was because I thought you were going to get me on here and just eviscerate me. But then, I've been interacting with Dan on Twitter, and I can tell you guys are
absolutely
nice people.
We're swell guys. Totally. We're totally swell guys.
Yeah, and we love other bands too. It's not just Rush. This is just, good content, you know, and it's a band we both love, and just something to talk about and sort of think about, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Also-
and I'm honestly jealous of you. I wish I felt this passionately about anything to like make a podcast about it. So I appreciate that.
Well, I was going to ask you, how can we help you like Rush more?
We can't. It's
Like I said, it grows on me with repeat exposure. Like right before this, to kind of get myself in the mood, I listened to Circumstances, which for whatever reason is my favorite Rush song. I like
Okay.
the little French part.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would say you probably would like the 80s era of Rush a lot.
Really?
It's
Okay.
it's very keyboard heavy. Amy Mann shows up on one of their albums of Till Tuesday, and sings back up on a song that's very popular. You might even like the Presto album. That is, it's beautifully choreographed music, and I don't know, there's some very some good tracks on there. I think that are pretty catchy and not as in your face, and just good songs. So you might want to check it out.
Give me one song and I'll go listen to it right now.
Dan, anything off of Presto? You like The Pass? The Pass.
The Pass is really good.
It's a beautiful song. The Pass. Yeah.
I do have to say though, I think it's really funny that Circumstances is the one that you like, because out of their entire catalog, that's the one where Geddy Lee's voice is at the absolute highest of anything in their
Doesn't
entire
last.
catalog.
Yeah, it doesn't last.
I think part of it is I like singing it along with it because I do it around the house. I'm like, it's just fun to do. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why.
Honestly, you're reminding me a little bit of my wife. Like my wife is not a huge fan, but she will occasionally be like, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. It works its way in.
She says
Yeah.
just like Ethel Merman. She does.
Yes, just like Ethel Merman, exactly.
That's funny.
No, but we again, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it, and we hope this was a pleasant experience for you. And listen to all of Xanadu. That's my advice. Listen to all of
Well,
it.
I mean, also too, Neil Peart was an incredible writer. I mean, if you just take all of his lyrics out of the context of the Rush compositions, I mean, they're beautifully well-crafted songs, and you should probably get it. Not you should probably. I mean, you could probably get 1,000 things on your plate, but check out one of his books. He's a great writer.
He wrote a lot of books.
He wrote several books. Oh yeah,
so-
and he
it's
wrote
like
all the
15
lyrics.
Yeah.
Sci-fi? I knew about the lyrics, but I didn't know he wrote books.
He wrote. No, they're
No.
not science fiction. They're just journals of his travels. He traveled in between tours in the beginning on his 21 speed touring bike, and then later on his motorcycle. And he just basically, they were just like diaries. And then he was met with a lot of tragedy in his life. As prolific of a artist as he was faced with like immense tragedy. He lost his wife, his daughter, and then he remarried, had another daughter, and then of course he fell to brain cancer, which was awful because he had basically just been playing hardcore all of this time for decades, and then they retire in 2015, and then just years later he passes. And it's really kind of an amazing story, the story of Neil Peart. He's really the anchor of the band. I mean, if you take Neil out, you sort of just have two amazing musicians and an amazing voice and all that, but Neil was the contributor, and that's hard to say for a lot of drummers within the legacy of music, where a drummer or a percussionist would be that much of a influence and contributor on the style and direction of a band. And Neil was sort of a force in that way, but he was an incredible writer. Yeah, you should just for the hell of it, pick up a book and check it out. He's got still his neilpeart.net or .com is still up. It hasn't been updated in a while, but you can dive into some of his diaries. Yeah,
but he's got like 10 books or 15
Something
books
like
or something, and it's all nonfiction, and it's all
beautiful.
very interesting stuff. Yeah.
I think Ghost Rider is the one that gets the most acclaim.
That might be the one that he wrote that after his wife and daughter died, he did like a motorcycle tour around North America, and Ghost Rider is just sort of his journal from that period. It's a great book, totally devastating, absolutely heartbreaking, but it's really good. They're all good.
And that could be why Rush fans are so attached to the band itself, and why Neil Peart's death was so impactful is because of the transparency of the band. I mean, they sort of just let it all out in that way.
Yeah.
For an arena rock band like Rush, I suspect you'd never get the feeling of a more inclusive stadium show than with a band like Rush. Because if you were at a Rush show, even if you were with around 20,000 people in an arena like that, you never felt like you were in an arena. You always felt like everybody was together in some way. I suspect something like a Grateful Dead, or by comparison, a Grateful Dead experience or something like that. But if you haven't delved into a little bit of his writings, and where you are a writer, you might gain a greater appreciation for the work.
Yeah, I knew a little bit about the tragedy. I heard some of that in my negative feedback, that I was disrespecting his memory or disrespecting the dead, and that kind of I felt poorly about that. I don't know if that was meant to, it was like a lashing out trying to hurt me by saying that, or if they really think that. But I hope that anyone listening, I definitely, when I wrote it, did not know his biography in that way and did not mean any disrespect towards him.
No, I don't think. And when I read it, I didn't get that at all. I found it very humorous. Well, I just found it very funny. But I take Rush very seriously. But some people just overly sensitive. Yeah.
I didn't see anything like that in your article. I didn't read it and go, this is very disrespectful. I mean, my take on it initially was like, oh Christ, this shit again. Because we do get some somewhat disrespectful comments sometimes from people who are just, they think nothing of just like going off on this music, and we get a little defensive about it. Yeah. But it's well written, it's funny, it's good, and it's that matters. If it had just been some hostile crap that just then that would be different, and I don't think we would have invited them on the show, that's for sure.
So thank you for the praise. That means a lot coming from you guys.
Well, thank you for coming on, Leslie. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Well, Dan, do you think we're going to catch some heat for this one?
Good heat, I think. I mean, there will be some people who are like, why'd you have her on? But I agree with you that like that's really what the purpose of the show is. It's not just about like, we're only going to talk about how Rush is great. It's about the life of being Rush fans, and that, and people who don't like them is a big part of the life, but I thought it was good to talk to her and get her side of it and see what her experience was. I was surprised to hear that most of the pushback that she got, like the really crazy pushback, was from women. But okay, that's that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, and listen, we've programmed the show where we've had 2 episodes with the women of Rush, and now we have a woman who doesn't. Rush isn't. It's not part of her, catalog of music. However, she has adopted this systematic approach or opinionated approach about Rush. And when I say systemized, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been Rush shamed for nearly 30 years in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't go to bed crying every night, but there is a stigma to people who like Rush. It's less now because they're more mainstream, but back in the day, and we were talking about heavy metal, the heyday of metal, Motley Crue and all that. And I liked Rush during those days. I didn't talk about it. It's just my little secret. I just sort of went into my bedroom and listened to it, and
that's funny because I found during the metal years, like everyone I hung out with was like very much into Rush, but I was more into like Metallica and Slayer, and which is more technical, and so you can see a little bit more of a connection there. I do want to point out, however,
amid my progressive metal fans, Rush were highly respected. Amid my AC/DC, the sort of working class metal, you just wasn't. I was sort of ragged on, and there were albums out then that people didn't really understand. It wasn't like maybe I'd have a friend that liked 1 or 2 albums, but they didn't understand the rest. Where I did.
Yeah. If you're talking about like late 80s, the Rush material that was new at the time may not have compared favorably to something that like someone who just really liked to listen to like just rock would really like. So, I mean, I get it. I understand, and I think that Rush were willing to lose people in order to keep pushing and to keep moving forward. And if it alienated some people, I think that they were willing to take that risk, which I appreciated. Having said that,
yeah,
I think she did say that she's beginning to maybe tolerate them a little bit, and we all know where that goes.
Well, the operative word here is systemized, systematic, ingrained opinion about Rush that has now reached a young lady who's a professional writer who was introduced to Rush by her husband, and somehow innately she adopted this sensibility about a band that's been ridiculed for decades. And she touched on it very intellectually and really hit a chord. I thought she was very brave to come on the show.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Very generous. We appreciate it.
When I reached out to her, she said at first, like, is this a trap that you want me to be on this?
A Zoom trap.
Well, she really, like we saw when she was talking to us, it's like she really took a lot of shit for it. And, I feel kind of bad that she took as much as she did.
Yeah.
At the same time, if I had known her and she had said to me beforehand, I'm going to write this article, I would have said to her, great, you do you are going to catch a lot of shit for it.
Yeah.
So, but, it's okay.
Well, and as a response or a rebuttal, if there's anybody that feels as though their children were born because of Rush,
but like conceived to the music of Rush,
conceived to the music of Rush. If you've named your child Geddy, Neil, or Alex, if you've named your child any referenced by any song, come on the show, and then we'll have you on as a response.
I would go further and say we will clear our entire schedule and make time to have you on the show if that's
like
the
an
case.
Entire family, with Geddy, Neil, and Alex, 3 sons, and then the dog named Cygnus and all that. Yeah, we want that.
Bytor.
Bytor.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, the dog would really be named Bytor. Yeah. Maybe I'm splitting hairs.
The grandmother's named Cygnus.
There you go.
Yeah. But well, there it is, Dan. Another incredible episode of Two Guys Talking Rush.
All of them are fantastic. We don't do bad shows. No, I've decided.
I think there's there's some flim flam, and nothing's perfect. But I always say this. It might have been Ghost Rider. Neil said, that's all we can do is try, and that has always stuck with me. And that's what we try to do here on Two Guys Talking. It's just try. It may be good, it may be bad, it might be in between, but whatever.
21,000 downloads can't be wrong.
There's 21,000 people, including Benny from Germany.
Even Benny from Germany, yes.
Well, there it is, folks. Another incredible episode of Two Guys Talking Rush. My name's John Kane.
I am the delightful Dan Buckspan.
And thank you for tuning in to Two Guys Talking Rush. And what can I say, folks? Rush
rules.
Two guys talking Rush. Two guys talking Rush. Two guys talking Rush. Two guys talking Rush. Two guys.